Hey there, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is soul retrieval. The relatively universal or global concept of soul retrieval. Most shamans that understand the concept of soul retrieval, and many will, understand it from this perspective and this slice that I'm about to give you, which is the idea that when a being faces trauma, it is believed that a piece of the soul fractures or splinters and remains at the trauma point. What a shaman is versed in doing is traveling between the spirit world and the physical world. All shamans are able to easily traverse spirit realm, which can be quite divergent from this realm, and physical realm, and easily able to move between the two using different gifts they've developed through many lifetimes. And so soul retrieval is the concept where a shaman goes into the inner levels and travels to the trauma point, travels in the space-time delusion to the trauma point, and communicates with the fractured part of the soul, and then breathes in that fractured part of the soul, and then astral travels back to the person in their present day moment. And then typically they'll breathe it either into the solar plexus or the top of the head or the base of the feet. When I do what I call soul retrieval, I breathe it into the base of the feet, the solar plexus, and the crown of the head. I'm just really inserting it into all areas for my consciousness to understand that part is completely returned to the entity. So when I do soul retrieval for entities, I use some Celtic shamanic tools, like filling my vessel with inner stars. In Celtic shamanism, we have inner stars, and we can use crystals to activate our inner stars. But I literally breathe in like a nebula or a galaxy or a large vessel of stars within my sacred vessel, and I go to the trauma point. I don't personally, and I'm not right, it's like there's just all different ways to view stuff, and a lot of times we're saying the same thing using different words. So this is not a disagreement with the shamans out there. I'm just speaking from my perspective. I personally do not believe that the soul or the spirit ever fractures or splinters. I even have questions about, do we have a soul, or is it all just spirit? Because I feel so connected to its one animating animus, one animating force. It's one beautiful juge de la juge of that which causes the Fibonacci sequence and sacred geometry, the mathematics back of the universe, that causes love to be present even though it can't be measured, as well as the air to be used even though it isn't seen, as well as divinity to have the same type of matrix in its being. So for me, it's just like unified spirit in a unified field of atoms that are made of unified emptiness that can express unified everythingness and their unlimited potentiality. From a quantum level, it is unlimited probability collapsing into particles based on consciousness. So I see the macrocosm as the microcosm, and it's like, just same. So I don't think that spirit fractures. I don't think that it splinters. I think that spirit is closer to the truth than this physical flesh costume and quote unquote reality that we're sold. I think that that's not the realm of fracturing and splintering. This is the realm of fracturing and splintering. This is where dissociative identity disorder is created. This is where there are some authors that would say we all have a little bit of split personality, because of the traumas we face. So I see Earth School as a place where this is where pots break. This is where things decay. This is the realm where things break down, right? So the way I've always perceived it is that when you or I have a trauma, and this can be death, this can be car accident, this can be assault, this can be physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse, this can be parents getting divorced, it can be you fighting as a child with your sibling over a toy and that being traumatic. Trauma is a lot of different things, and it flushes up in a lot of different ways. And sometimes there are smaller tales rather than these tall tales of how a trauma happened. It can be as simple as an older sibling that gets sarcasm, using sarcasm on a younger sibling that doesn't get it, and that younger sibling receives that to mean they're valueless or need to be quiet, or, so it can happen in a lot of different ways. It can happen as a result of miscommunication. What I believe happens is that this is the brilliance of the design, is that we are given these experiences, these trials, these tribulations, these traumas, these moments, so that we have the opportunity to come to know what we are in response to them. How can love know what it is if it has no subject object, if there's no distinction in the field? It's just ising, right? It's once we introduce false evidence appearing real, or once we introduce fear, that then love has some type of contrast to see the magnificence and the magnitude of what it be. So what I believe happens is that at a trauma point, the quantum light of our awareness, the light of our consciousness, remains at the trauma point. A slice of it, a piece of it, not all of it, because I'm using my consciousness right now. I've had many traumas, and I'm using my consciousness right now to make this video. But there's a slice that remains with some of those traumas. Some of them I've integrated. And the reason it remains is because every trial, every tribulation, every struggle, every challenge, there's no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands, Richard Bach said in the book Illusions. So we seek problems because we need their gifts. So these trials, these traumas, these tribulations give you the opportunity, if you will integrate the experience, the shadow. This is part of shadow integration. We have a shadowy experience, and then we come to integrate. Well, what did I learn from it? What did I gain from it? What did I come to understand? Oh, wow, I'm better at discerning the characters of humans down here. I'm better at setting boundaries and establishing not everyone belongs in my garden. I'm better at being compassionate or empathetic or slow to decide. Or there's always a gift that comes out of the trials and tribulations. Oh, I learned that I am valuable irrespective of what anyone else thinks about me, And so if you think about your challenges, your trials, your tribulations, your traumas, and you go back to that point, I would say that the way you know if it's been integrated is it no longer flushes up in your field. Your consciousness has resolved that experience happened for this reason, and that's what my soul got out of it, and I'm complete. But as a general rule, we tend to just continue to launch forward in life. Anyhow, back to life. I'm working again, got to pay these bills, blah, 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 I got to get my cat some cat food, whatever it is. Got to get my four-legged fed. Because we're constantly launching our awareness into new paradigms, we often don't take time to sit and reflect on what was the grace, what was the gift, what was the fruit, the juge de la juge that I got out of that tribulation that made me richer, deeper, bolder, grander. And, we do have in our brain a pain-pleasure balance. And to the degree that we consume pleasure, which we are indoctrinated into a culture that's like, eat the marrow out of the bones of pleasure, So eat whatever you want, consume whatever you want, shop, irrespective of what it does to the earth. Have all the sex, drink all the alcohol, do all the things, party, have fun, as much as you can. Have fun. And I'm a huge advocate of fun, and I'm a huge advocate of play. But even the Akashic Record says, if you really want to have pleasure, then actively choose some layers of pain. Choose to go work out. That causes pain. It causes discomfort. You have to get up. You have to go do it. You have to exert yourself. But what will happen is your brain will always want to have a pain-pleasure balance. So if you actively choose discipline with a diet, discipline with exercise, discipline with your life, your brain is going to counterbalance that by giving you endorphins, giving you pleasure chemicals as a result of the natural pain that you adopt. But sometimes life just hands you pain. It's like, here you go. Like this past year, my cousin, my friend, my brother, and my cat all died, and those are pains that I get to process that hurt. Even though like burying two-leggeds is pretty much what I do every year of my life, it still hurts, and I still have to grieve no matter how connected I am to spirit. And so there's a pain present. And I also notice like a great desire to, because of the pain, to like, I'm just going to have pleasure. I'm going to eat whatever I want. And it's justified. I'm dealing with grief, Silly clown woman. So what I'm working to do instead is to consider what did I learn from my cousin? What did I learn from my dear friend Mishka Ladishka? What did I learn from Braxton, my brother? What did I learn from Ashtar, my sweet little kitty cat, four-legged man? He taught me, much like my brother, how to be unconditional love, just to be super loving. He's such a little sweet little man. The best guy. So I consider And I stew in and I weigh in not only what are the graces that I get from these entities, these two-leggeds and four-leggeds in my life, but what were the challenges? What did I find difficult? What was hard to witness? What was hard to watch? And why is that hard for me? And what can I integrate? How can I grow? How can I evolve from this offering of XYZ experience or XYZ challenge? What can I gain from that? So my life revolves around a lot of reflecting because it's a lot of death. So then that causes you to kind of reflect on your life. Are you living the life you want to live? And causes you to reflect on other people's lives and the influence that they be. Today, I'm asking you, is there any trauma, trial, tribulation, challenge, frustration, irritation, irritating human, irritating being, irritating way of being, that you feel you could use some integration on that topic to have greater balance? If you're super obedient and disciplined, you might not like or understand the rebellious non-rule follower, for example, is something that's flushed up in topics for me this week. Well, if you're very strongly one side of a coin, you're not in balance with understanding the other side of the coin, And so we can take any extreme topic and consider how much are we integrated on the topic. But I'll give you a topic that would be unpopular for me to talk about. I consider myself to be extremely pro-choice, and that's because we're not the body. I don't think we're the body. I think they're all going to die. Everybody you've ever seen is going to die. Everyone that's born right now is going to die. They're all going to die anyhow. And everybody that is born and lives a life uses resources. And causing a child to be born and then throwing them in an orphanage where they get sexually and physically abused and don't have the concept of parent and don't have a good quality of life, to me, doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm not right about pro-choice. And so today, one of the things I was integrating is I was integrating awareness for every Christian that is pro-life that has adopted children. And I was just holding awareness in the web of life. Even though I don't agree with you, I agree with the way you choose to believe what you choose to believe, because even though you're pro-life and I don't agree with you, you don't just cause babies to be here and then go, problem solved, I'm good with Jesus, and now, those kids can have whatever crappy life. If you are actually adopting children and you're saying you're pro-life, then you're actually being the difference maker of a different problem that's being created when abortions don't occur, right? And so I'm using that topic because it's a really heated topic, and some of you will watch what I have to say and be like, yeah, Heather, yeah, I'm also pro-choice. And some of you might get cheesed off and be like, I don't agree with you at all. I totally think that we need to be soldiers to keep the babies alive. And that's okay. The thing is when we get really set into being right about what others should or shouldn't do. So part of where trauma and conflict and challenge and hardship comes from, it comes from our idea of being right about how life is to be lived. And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't assault someone. I wouldn't abuse someone. I wouldn't rape somebody. So then how dare you do that? And then, you're just a problem and I'm not that kind of problem and I'm superior and above it. But if it's in my matrix and it's in my web, I'm not superior and above that problem. For whatever reason, my consciousness has asked to understand this topic of betrayal, this topic of a liar, this topic of a rapist, this topic of a car accident. Whatever the trial or tribulation is, it's obvious to me that I'm not above the learning around that given slice of bread from the universe, the manna from heaven that can really evolve my being. So let me stew in it. Let me consider. And that's what I'm asking today. Have you taken time to consider many of your trials and tribulations in this life? The only thing that really causes pain is not accepting what is. So many of your trials and tribulations come from not accepting what is. And sometimes that can come from a perspective of being right about don't be that way. But, that can become its own prison. So today, can we consider where it is we've had trial and tribulation? And can we start to integrate the quantum light of our awareness that remains trapped in that situation until we get the gift and the fruit of evolution that was always the thing being offered through the experience to begin with? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like, comment there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Amun.